Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much for coming to this press conference. It's such short notice and I'm extremely grateful. And I just hope you're all getting paid double time with it being a Good Friday. Or a bank holiday, one of the two. Ladies and gentlemen, what I intend to do is read a prepared statement and then I'll take one-to-ones, and I think that'll be helpful to all of the press. And there'll be plenty of time to get all of the information you require. If you'll just bear with me for 5 or 6 minutes so I'll read this prepared statement, and I think that will certainly help all members of the press and the public at large as well. Ladies and gentlemen, in the course of my 9 years as Mayor, one of the greatest and most time-consuming challenges has undoubtedly been the ongoing conflict concerning the taxi trade in the town, and in particular, matters surrounding one of the biggest private hire firms, Borough Taxis. For many years, I was a personal friend of the owner of Borough Taxis, Mohammed Bashir, but over the last 18 months or so, as his conflict with the council and the hackney trade of the town intensified, this friendship became more and more difficult and strained. I was spending upwards of 10 hours a week dealing with this single issue and attempting to resolve the increasingly intense conflict between hackney cabs, private hire cabs and the council. Often telephone conversations and meetings with Mr Bashir would run for hours at a time, and on occasions into the early morning. I remember one such conversation began at 11:45 at night and finished at 2:30 AM. To say Mr Bashir was obsessed with the issue would be an understatement, and it reached the point where I felt I had to place on record my exact position, so Mr Bashir was under no illusion as to where I stood. Therefore, I wrote a letter to Mr Bashir in March 2010, outlining in broad terms some of the accusations he had made against council officers and myself. Mr Bashir alleged that officers were bent and that cover-ups had occurred in relation to previous complaints he had made. I made it clear to him that he should forward any evidence of criminal offences to the police. I also made clear the appropriate procedure should he have complaints about the professional conduct of officers or myself. Early this month, Mr Bashir had the opportunity to put all of his evidence and accusations before a court, including details of all the conversations he had had with me. The finding of the court was clear-cut. It vindicated the stance of the council on this matter. Judge John Foster commented, "It is my view that the council's officers sought to be fair throughout the proceedings." He added, "It is my view that the council sought a compromise solution, and in doing so were not taking the side of the Hackney Carriage Association or taking against private hire drivers. They were taking action on behalf of the public at large." Judge Foster also said there is absolutely no evidence before this court of any racial prejudice on the part of the local authority. In addition, the judge stated, "I reject the view that the council have acted in a prejudicial way or unfairly towards borough cars in the imposition of these conditions." I am aware that following the court case, Mr Bashir has engaged in a campaign with the specific aim of stopping me becoming the elected mayor, and that is his prerogative. Earlier this week, I became aware that Mr Bashir had been covertly recording telephone conversations and meetings I have had with him, conversations stretching back many months in which I was trying to resolve matters between him and the council. For want of a better expression, I became a mediator. The content of many of these conversations were part of the evidence that Mr Bashir presented before the court and which was rejected by the court. I am now aware that Mr Bashir has supplied some of these secretly recorded conversations to third parties. Throughout these conversations, I made it clear to Mr Bashir in language that he will understand that I reject totally any suggestions that officers of the council have acted dishonestly. In fact, I repeated time and time again that the officers were straight, and whilst I personally might not agree with the way in which every case was handled, I believe they have carried out their jobs with honesty and absolute integrity. something that was confirmed by the court earlier this month. After many conversations over many hours, over many months, trying to get this through to Mr. Bashir, I used an analogy in a conversation 6 months ago, and it was a telephone conversation which I now regret. Describing one officer, I said the officer was so straight that if they had sex it would be in one position. I realise it was wrong of me to use such an analogy. I would never have used it in a public forum, and even though I regarded this as a private conversation, I accept that I should not have used those words or the industrial language with it. I would just ask people to appreciate that these were one-to-one conversations that sometimes went on for many hours and were never intended for public consumption. And there was a great deal of frustration in the air between Mr. Bashir and myself. I have apologised unreservedly to the officer concerned. I am deeply sorry for any embarrassment or upset I have caused the officer, their family, and this council, and the town as a whole. I am also extremely saddened that someone I regarded for many years as a good friend would betray the privacy of our conversations in this way. I considered standing down from the forthcoming election in the light of these taped conversations, but I've concluded that is not necessary. The public voted me in, and now they will have the chance to vote me out if they so wish that to happen. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it would be more helpful for all of you if I was to take one-to-ones. Is that what you would like, or do you want? You want one-to-ones? Okay. Thank you very much.